Mr. McHugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General, yesterday you and I had a chance to talk very briefly about your appearance before the SASC. I'm particularly glad to see you all survived in such good form. You recommended I go to the transcript to get a gist of what you were talking about. In 17 years, I've learned when a combatant commander suggests you do something, you should. And I did review that, and I just want to refer to it. Senator Levin said, first on this 10,000 troop request, is there a pending request that is unfilled at this point for those 10,000 additional troops, the request that General McKiernan had laid out? Your response was, this is a request, there is a request for forces for those elements, Senator, and it did move through me. My understanding is it's not been sent beyond the Pentagon at this time, to which Senator Levin then said, has that been sent? I should look to you then, Secretary Flournoy. Has that been sent by Secretary Gates? Has that request been made by Secretary Gates? Ma'am, your response was the request was laid out along with all of the others on a timeline, and the President was told that the request is out there, but that he doesn't have to make it. I'm curious, who told the President he doesn't have to make the decision at that time, and what was the rationale for that?
Sir.
Yeah, no, let's not get insulting now.
What we did is we looked at the full range of requests that General McKiernan had put on the table. And the two outstanding requests are for forces that would not arrive until 2010, one in the first part and the other in like October of 2010. And what was clear is when the President asked, well, when do these decisions need to be made to be able to alert units, give them a deployment order, send them, he was told, sir, you don't have to make those decisions until the fall. And so what he focused on was all of the decisions that the commander had put on the table to respond in the current time frame. And he said, given that we are changing strategy, we're substantially changing the resourcing of the mission, conditions on the ground will change between now and the fall, I'm committing to a process of reevaluation, of establishing metrics and benchmarks, and of continuing to look at what's working, what's not, and adjusting. And we fully anticipate that the General's requests may even change or evolve over time in 6 months' time. So the commitment was we will look at those when we need to, those decisions when we need to make them to actually affect the force flows.
Again, if I may, who made that request to the President? Was that Secretary Gates' recommendation?
Sir, this was in an interagency discussion where several, the consensus recommendation to the President was to look at those decisions at that time.
But let me ask again, was that Secretary Gates' recommendation?
I believe that yes. He said basically he and the chairman both explained that these requests are out there, but they do not need to be, those decisions do not need to be made at this time. They can be made later and still meet the commander's needs on the ground.
So Secretary Gates recommended the President need not make that decision?
Sir, you're putting words in his mouth.
No, I'm not, ma'am.
It didn't. That's not the way the discussion went. The discussion was the President asked to understand the timelines involved in these decisions. Those timelines were presented to him, and they were fully explored and discussed. And the decision was made that those decisions don't need to be made at this time, and that would not adversely affect force flows meeting the commander's needs.
I want to be very clear. I have no desire to put words in your mouth, and that's why we're going through this, because I think it's very important to have clear on the record how this decision was reached. I think you've explained that, but I think it's equally important to understand where each person in the process stands. We have General McKiernan's stated need. I assume General Petraeus passed that through as he said he did. It's consistent with the counterinsurgency strategy numbers that certainly are very successful manual proved in Iraq. And let me ask the question this way. Did Secretary Gates make a recommendation directly to the President not make this, or he just said it's up to you, Mr. President?
Sir, I am not privy to their private conversations, but I did not hear him make a recommendation either way. I heard him lay out the timeline and the options and the consequences.
Thank you. Here's my concern. During my opening statement, I said that I worry about the President's plan that I fully support, that I feel he very articulately set forward, has committed us to a full counterinsurgency strategy. The concern I have is that by not supporting now the deployment and the assignment of troops that admittedly won't be, in all likelihood, made to 2010, is sending us a message we may not deploy those troops. They may not be committed, contrary to the commander's request on the ground. And therefore, this minimalist approach that takes us away from a counterinsurgency plan that the President has fully committed himself to, and that I support, becomes, in the mind of Congress, a very important player in this role, as we saw in 2007, 2006, with respect to the Iraq surge, begins to take over and influence executive policy. That is my concern, and I'm hard-pressed to get my mind around the benefit of not making this full commitment pursuant to the commander's request. Sir, that's my view. And
if I could just respond, sir, with I don't think there's any way that you can characterize the additional troops that are being sent when you add in enablers and the additional brigade that the President just approved, nearly 25,000 above what we have had, which has been a minimalist approach in the past. I do not think you can characterize that as minimalist or incremental in any way. I think what the President feels is important is that we set very clear metrics to measure our progress, that we hold ourselves accountable to those metrics, and that we consider commanders' requests at the time when those decisions need to be made. And he will consider he'll consider whatever requests that are on the table at the appropriate time to ensure that our forces and our civilians on the ground have the resources they need to execute the strategy that's been outlined.
Now, with all due respect, because someone may read this transcript as I have read the Senate, I want to make it clear you're now putting words in my mouth. I never said the President had a minimalist approach. I said in 06 and 07 the Congress began to take a minimalist approach.
Okay.
And I'm worried about the lack of clarity that this recommendation to the President, in whatever form it came, and I'm still not certain we understand that, feeds into the congressional pocket that may still have that as an objective that I view as a very clear formula for the President's plan, again, that I support and I want to see succeed, has dedicated itself to. So I would make the argument I'm actually trying to support the President here, and I'm trying to point out where I think there may be a problem that, frankly, I think we ought to overcome pursuant to the commander's request on the ground.